Hey you, so on this video, the biggest lessons learned liquidating my gold and silver. I'm going to be going over a few key things that have just stained on my brain once the transaction's gone through and the process of liquidating some of my gold and silver. As of recent, I mentioned that I was liquidating a bit of high premium gold to get into other ventures, either sit in fiat for a little while as spot price drops, fingers crossed, and put a little into BTC in the crypto market and see what was happening from there. So that's been happening. So before I get into this, I'd like to say, if you like what you see / hear and haven't done so already, please do go ahead and subscribe, and also let me know your thoughts and opinions if you've liquidated your gold and silver in the past and the process, or any pros and cons that you could add to this. Please do go ahead and leave that down below in the comments. So I'm going to give or take, say 5 or 6 lessons I've learned, or just want to pass on to an individual getting into this, or a pro that maybe hasn't gone through the process of liquidating. A lot of people don't. They get into stacking and it's got one purpose. They put their savings into it, and if they're doing it right and they're sticking to the script, they'll never need to touch it till one, they either need to start laying into their savings, or two, that mythical magical day comes where spot price goes through the roof and it's time to cash in. We're rich, so I'm going to be giving the rundown here. So I'd say number one, one of the biggest lessons that I learned, and this was a negative one that I learned, that really ended up stinging me in the tail, was that buying what I liked was most painful when it came to liquidating. So, earlier on, you'd seen I've had a lot of kilo coins, from the Darth Vader ones, just a lot of theme coins. Saw them, liked them, bought them, so, I've never been a massive one waving the flag or buy what you like what you buy, and the likes of. But this liquidating has put me into that position. This is why I say a lot of people can learn a lot from liquidating, whether you're going long, especially if you're buying to flip on, or buying and you hope it goes up. If you're buying because you are the true definition of a collector, then once again some of these things won't really matter to you, because you don't really consider price or any lessons learned. You ended up getting something that you liked, and that can go and be applied to anything in life, really. You liked it, you liked that burger you bought, you ate it, you loved it. You're not going to regret it and think, hey, can I regurgitate or sell it on later? But getting back to it, it was most painful liquidating a lot of the stuff that I bought because I liked at the time. So there was a few coins. I could go on forever, but there's been the colored coins. If I can go back through the old videos, the Perf Mint, Back to the Future stuff. And this is stuff that even when I put across the dealers, they politely declined. So the plus side, I'd say, to a lot of the gimmicky stuff, funnily enough, is it's the easiest stuff to sell to somebody that's just getting into metals, or doesn't want to come in too aggressive. So a themed coin, be it a colorized dragon or a colorized DeLorean or something of that nature, it appeals more to somebody that just wants to come into it lightheartedly and doesn't want to come in too aggressive and come in and the foundation generic and the regiment and stick to the script. They see something they like. It caught my eye once upon a time, so when I'm giving them the little sales pitch or saying, hey, I can do a decent price for you, I purchased it myself. And I always look at things like that and think, if I've one stoned it can't be that bad, really. What's changed is my either train of thought or a process in terms of liquidating, where I realized, ouch, maybe it wasn't the best thing to buy at the time. There's been a lot of silver bullets I've dodged, you could say, when it came to liquidating things that I liked. There was things that I wasn't really too keen on selling at the time, and I got edged on by a partner in crime at the time, and I'd even put the 2-ounce Gold Dragon Phoenix coin up in that category. I got it graded. It wasn't intended on selling, but at the time I'd grown attached to it, and it was like, hey, put it up now, with no intention, set it at this price, see what the interest is like. And this is why I also put that out there, because it's something I've done in the past. And I'd say halfway in between it being up for sale and seeing how much interest or lack of interest there was, I seriously did want to get it sold. So it was very interesting to see stuff like that happen. But those have been my most painful sales when it's come time to liquidate. It's either been a situation where I've had to go and put more effort into liquidating, i.e. finding a personalized buyer that was willing to pay a profit or break even. A lot of the times it was a profit. and just thinking I'll never buy these again. And I remember that from the, and if you remember, I've done a kilo full stack video before, so you can only imagine how many kilos had to get wrapped up and posted off in the likes of. And just at the time, I can tell you something now, the dealer that did end up purchasing the bulk of them would never take them off me at the current climate. So even a lot of things went out at the right time. This is the gold proof Isaac Newton 50p piece. I picked this up around July also, so it's another piece I'm showing off for the first time. I picked it up earlier on in the year after flipping some of these snowman coins and the likes of. But yeah, so those were the most painful. When I say painful, I mean hardest to liquidate, hardest to get a price. Some of them I piggy banked on top of more profitable and favorable deals with dealers. I'm mentioning dealers all the time here because for me also, I also found that to be the best way liquidating, easy, hassle-free. When I was shipping in bulk, some of the dealers were carrying the shipping costs and insurance and likes of. So it was just worked out better for me, and I got a fantastic deal. Secondary market, eBay, maybe could have got more, but then you need to take the risk factor as the person, a dodgy character. Are they going to switch and bait your coin when they receive it? Will they do a cash back in terms of claiming they didn't like it, buyer's remorse? Nothing works in your favor on eBay. It's not a straightforward transaction, and believe it or not, there are people out there that prey on you. So, just to get that hassle-free, damn near better price and even walk away with a profit from a dealer, I'll take it all day long. I'm not trying to get maximum price, just the best price and cash in some gains. So buying what I like was most definitely the most painful for me, and that's going to be one of the biggest lessons learned. Next lesson learned was that not all items on sale are great deals. Once again, in the earlier videos, I was picking up a lot of stuff off of dealers that had them on sale, and I automatically associated it with a bargain. It was a fantastic deal. You're looking at a proof 1 ounce high relief coin that costs so and so price, and this dealer's selling it for da price. If anything now, it's red flags. You don't see a hot product. You don't see dealers putting this coin on sale. You can't go to Modern Coin Mark, you can't go to Atmex, you can't go to a lot of the German dealers or UK dealers and find this coin on sale for below issue price even. And there's a reason for that, because it's a hot product. Hot products don't do that. What products go on sale? Products that dealers or mints are having issues pushing. It could be sitting on a dealer's shelves for a very long time and they need to get it moved. So what's the next course of action? Lower the price. That's what the dealer has to do when he has a product that can't shift. Either he's got it on SOR, sale or return with the mint, or he's purchased them, or the mint's given them to them and said, hey look, put them on whatever price, we just need to shift this stock. And that's what ends up happening. And then along comes a spider, even myself, sees the price. And I done a lot of purchases in the early days on that, off of that basis, just thinking because it was a bargain, it was a great deal. But in reality, I would say it was a rat trap. I was getting these things in thinking I'd be able to flip them. I could have if I put a lot more time and effort into it, but ultimately I ended up liquidating a bunch of them. I've done many videos of that also, and just being happy I was able to get out of that. For the bulk I picked up, I could have sold a fraction of them for a profit, but not kept it up, so I just jumped out while I could. Remember, I've had the 5 ounce proof dragons, perf mint dragons. I've had so many. These were all picked up on bargains. I know from region to region, so in Europe, it was a still. I know in America you wouldn't be able to even get these coins, but you still see them on the secondary market, i.e. eBay, and they're not shifting. So that's always red flags. Something being set at a higher price, but getting that higher price and trading at that higher price are two different things. So the next one I would say is, the best price or the best offer you can get from a dealer or a person is spot. And the worst offer you can get is spot or not interested. So that all depends on what you picked up here and, what you was expecting. Because if it's a piece that you thought was going to be great and, you thought it would go long and far, but then, you go to sell it and it sits on eBay. I've seen this with a load of people because they paid a premium for the piece. They've put the piece on the secondary market and it's got no interest, and then, they refuse to lower the price. So if they do end up getting to a dealer, they get offered spot price. That could be offensive. They could be absolutely crushed, but that's the best price they can get. You have people out there that believe, generic's the key and wait, and it's all about weight. And then, spot takes a little jump, they may contact the dealer thinking I'm about to cash in, and the dealer may offer them, if they're lucky, way below spot, because once upon a time they knew what they person paid for it, or they may just give them the not interested. And I'll get to why a dealer may be interested as we move on. So those are the types of offers somebody can get within a certain type of situation that you need to be prepared for. You could be holding the best coin. I mean, the most desirable coin I've got on display here could be this coin right here, and you could walk into a dealer and he's going to tell you, look, I'll give you spot for that. And you could be offended and feel like it's worth a lot more, but that may be the best offer you're going to get from that avenue. Of course, you can always try other avenues, but it's just an example. Not saying this coin, but it could be another coin that you believe is worth something, or it could be generic that you think it's not always thinking that you're smarter than everybody else, i.e. picking up at the absolute rock bottom price, and when it shoots up, liquidating. It's not as 1, 2, 3 as can be, and especially when you're liquidating. I think the biggest lessons I've learnt, full stop, if there's anything to take away from this video, is liquidating. I learned the most of my lessons in metals when it came time to liquidate, and I'll hopefully touch on that at the end. So that's going to be that. Just take that into mind. The best offer you can get is spot. Now, you may be thinking that's fantastic, but what do you have? Is it a high premium coin? Is it a generic piece? And the worst offer you can get is, not interested. You can put it on eBay and get absolutely no views, no offers. And then, it kicks in. Hey, what do I have in my hand? You may have a ticking time bomb, who knows? But that's just the way the cookie crumbles at times. So just take that into account. The next lesson I will mention whilst liquidating would be selling silver can be cumbersome in bulk. Well, it is cumbersome in bulk, regardless of how you look at it. And I put that down to this. I've even liquidated monster boxes before and gone through the process. I've pushed across borders, across waters. So I've sold to Europe and I've sold in the UK. The whole process for me as a macho man, wasn't too hard. I believe the average monster box could weigh anything from 10 kgs to 15 kgs. You do the conversions, whatever currency or metric you're in. But, for instance, if I was to hand that process or that task over to my missus, she would not be happy to do that again. It depends. If it's silver shot through the roof and you're cashing in at the right time and dealers are buying, it's extremely liquid, then there'd be no complaints. But if it was in the same climate that I sold them in, I don't know many people that'd be happy with that task. For me, it's nothing, lugging it on, putting over the shoulder and going about my business, hi ho, hi ho. But for many, it's going to be, and when I think about it, and even in bulk, it's a cumbersome process, no matter how you look at it. So selling silver in bulk is very cumbersome. That's something you need to take into account, because there's many ways you approach selling also. If you have your one dealer, your LCS, that's guaranteed you've purchased everything from them and they've promised you they're going to take everything back of you, you're lucky. But, let's just hope that dealer never goes out of business, never gets hit with a massive influx of metals and they're no longer picking up, because then you need to look at other avenues. And that's when the real issues can start, because you now need to take on packaging. Making sure that's secure, and not to forget tubes themselves. You can put one tube in a box and shake it back and forth, and depending on who your postman is, he may rattle out what's in there. And now imagine 10 or 15 or anything just rattling about in there. You can have them in capsules. Then you need to run the gauntlet of it leaving your hands, going through the post office, whichever distributor or courier has it, and it going through that destination. I've had situations where I've told dealers, it's going to be sent. They've guaranteed me they'll make me aware of it once they receive it. And you're sitting there watching the tracking, seeing it's being delivered, early morning, and then late afternoon, you still haven't heard nothing back. So you have to end up calling in and them saying, yeah, we received it. But until that time or that confirmation lands, you're sitting on the edge of your seat. So that's a whole new worrying process also. It can get lost within that phase from you to them. If you haven't purchased insurance, and that's another scam in itself, because you need to jump over all types of hurdles, then, I'm not saying if you're shipping 2 gold points it's going to be any easier, but you can conceal them maybe in other things also. And depending dealer you're selling to isn't webuygold.com, you've got to put that on the postage label. There's ways around it. So, silver in bulk can be very cumbersome. So if you're all silver and you're up to 100 plus ounces and it's time to sell, and if you can't put it in your pocket or your hodl, get in your car, drive down there and make the whole process face to face, hand to hand, please do take that into account, because you may hear that all the time, but until it's time for you to do it, and I've liquidated thousands, you don't know. You're in for a rude awakening. And the next process would be exactly what I was just touching upon. Liquidating itself can be a rough process, whether it be gold or silver. You have to remember, there's certain things you can be involved in right now in terms of liquidating, and the process is 1, 2, 3. It's open and shut. It can be as simple as clicking a click of a button, and you're liquidated. That could be cryptos, that could be stocks. It just is. Some things are just a lot more easy to liquidate, or just is, and that's not usually going to be virtual paper. Whenever you're talking physical, you're always going to run into the scenario or situation where metals, first things first, you need to find a buyer. You may have your buyer locked in, i.e. your LCS. You then, if you don't have that buyer secured, you need to find the right price. You may need to, shop around to get the right price. It just is a situation that you can't avoid. You then may need to get it to a person that's far out than you, and once again go through the entire process I just mentioned of maybe having to send it off to a courier, and then that process, if that gets lost in transit, these are all risks. Each time, or each phase, or each block, or each step away from it being further than as simple as face to face, you to the main LCS or the coin dealer, is a risk that you have to take into account. And this is something that you don't need to take into account with many other things when you're liquidating. So the whole process, from even not doing with a dealer and going on the secondary market, then you need to take in all the other risks I just mentioned them. And there are people out there doing that, the switch and bait. So you send them a coin, and then apparently there's a loophole with PayPal, I believe it is, and they can send you back a fake coin and say the item wasn't as described, and PayPal will side with them, and you're left with a fake item, and that's just that, really, and there's nothing you can do. So these are all risk factors. So believing gold or silver is a simple process of liquidating, hey, once again, it's just what I've gone through. It can be very different from person to person, especially if you have that one dealer. That's not going to be an issue, not going to be a problem, but just think for a moment, you've got a massive, spike, and everybody's heading for the door. Everybody's heading for that chair. Just think of the process from there. And remember, I've always said the best thing you could do is always conversate with your dealer and ask these specific questions. Are you selling more, or are you buying more at the moment? And just give a scenario. Dealers are never going to give away too much. It's usually what they're not saying, and you usually have to do a lot of reading between the lines, because at the end of the day, if you ask them what's best, gold or silver, if they tell you gold, they know they're potentially losing a silver buyer. So this is what I'm trying to say. With me, everybody knows the coups, but you could either choose to be, led down the garden path, or you can just, read between the lines, as mentioned. So next, I'll wrap this one up with this. I would say dealers are reluctant to take what is going to sit on their shelves for a long period of time. And so, like I said, you could think this is all about high premium coins and issues of liquidating it. When you liquidate, is going to play a massive role here, because as mentioned, if you're going to be buying your metals, and when you say you purchased in the last 5 years, and you're not going to need to look at your metals, or you're not retiring for the next 20 plus years, you could be in a great situation from then. If you're specifically waiting for this magic, $100 silver, and who knows what gold, $5,000 gold, that could be a problem, because you could turn up to a dealer, and if they can't turn it over fast, they're not going to give you the best price. They're going to take into account, and I've had these conversations with dealers purely because, and I don't blame them. It's not their fault. They're going to be paying something off you. Buying it could be more of a hassle, especially if it's going to be sitting on their shelves for a long time. And I'm referring to generic here, or even a high premium coin that's not so desirable. They want to be able to take the product in and flip it as soon as possible. If they know that that's not going to happen, you better be prepared for either we're not interested, we won't purchase it off you, or if we do, we're going to take it at this price, because it's sitting on the shelf for all these months could just be the fee and the price that I'm willing to take, knowing that this could take me anywhere from 3 to 6 months to 12 months before we even shift it. You may be looking, I don't know, $18 an ounce, and they could be thinking $13 or $12 an ounce. And it just is, from there, you then need to look at scrappers. And, when you're talking scrap, it's what you get on the day, really. So we're all waiting for that magical day in the end of the day where silver hits that special spot, silver or spot price in general hits that price, and dealers are taking in with no qualms. So if it's $50, dealers are paying you $45 or, £38 comfortably with no issues, because they know it's not going to tank anytime soon, and we know it's all going up from there, and this is the new norm. If we don't see that anytime soon and you're in the unfortunate position where you do need to liquidate regardless of what you've bought, I think, you may run into one of the situations or the lessons that I've learned. So it's always good to do a dry run, as I've mentioned. Ultimately, just stay safe and try not to get caught up. There is no simple way to do it. You can have all generic, or you can have all governmented, or you can have all high premium. Shopping around is one of the biggest lessons also you must do, because once I said, I've had dealers that have told me certain things I've had up for sale, there was no interest. At some point you may be thinking, what's happening here, it's doom and gloom, but then you may come across that one dealer that absolutely loves it and is willing to pay a decent premium for it. That's also a valuable lesson to take on board. But I'm going to wrap this one up, guys. But I'd love to hear any lessons you would have learned or have learned when you've liquidated, or if you have liquidated, good or bad. Please do go ahead and leave them in the comments. Once again, please do go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll catch you guys on the rebound.